Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our Intersection of Design series. Here we're exploring how the different roles of your business interact and how your team can better collaborate so that you can build your business and your brand even better than before. Today, I am chatting with Kate Hutcheson, who is a project manager and online business manager, also an expert at creating workflows for everything that you need in your business, and who works on my team and makes everything function the way it needs to function. So, hi, Kate. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be chatting with you today.
And chatting about things that aren't specific to all the projects that need to get done in my business.
Yeah, you said makes everything function, and it's like crossing my fingers, like hopefully.
Trust me, it was better than it was before. Um, okay, start us off and tell me what you do for your clients. What's your job?
So, what I do with clients is primarily I will help clients to put together a system in your business that will, well, here, let me start over. So I will sit down with you and listen to what your offers are and how you like to work with your clients. And then we will rebuild your workflow. So, how you work with your clients from onboarding through delivery and through offboarding. And so, we will streamline that whole process to make sure that you are communicating with your clients in the best way possible, and also so that that process feels the best to you that it can, so that it's as easy and seamless for you as it can be, and also for your clients. And then beyond that, if you like, then I also help with building that system in Dubsado CRM. And so creating those workflows and helping set up that particular system for people who want to do that.
Yes, that's what we use, and it saves my life. Uh, so something that's interesting about this is lately I've been thinking a lot about what branding actually means. And I think a huge part of it that a lot of designers and a lot of businesses kind of overlook is the client workflow part, because there's so many client touch points in there. Like every part of the client workflow is something that the client is going to see or experience in some way. And so that's definitely a part of your brand. Have you ever thought of it that way? Like, what does branding mean to you when you think about that word?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I was kind of thinking about this the other day because I think branding it's definitely one of those words that a few years ago I would have thought of branding as primarily really the the visual pieces, right? That everybody sort of thinks about, and maybe to some extent the messaging and copy. Um, but then, I started working with you, and I really definitely started to get a little, um, over time, of a stronger sense of what it is. And I was thinking about it the other day because a client shared with me the mood board that you had made for them, and there was this one piece of it where the the background that went into some of the designs that you had pulled together, some of the ideas that you had pulled together, was this just like this really difficult and kind of I don't know, this really high level concept, and you have to think about how to communicate that, and um, so I just started thinking about just how much how much branding really is, right? That it's all of this information about our businesses that needs to be communicated so succinctly, that it is our values and our value and our audience and our you know our our mission and and how we work with clients, and how we want to communicate with clients, and all of that has to get wrapped up in a way that people can understand it really at a glance. And just what an incredible job that is. So I never would have had that sense, 3 years ago before we started working together. So anyway, that's what I think branding is.
Well, that makes me feel amazing, so thank you. But I think that's why I really like working with you and why I think it's so important to have this conversation is because when you do think of branding as communicating all of those things and communicating your values in really succinct ways, that's why I feel like we also have to be talking about the client experience because they have to feel that every single time they interact with the business. So that kind of like leads me to my next point, which is when you do think about a business's values, how does that determine what their client experience is and what that workflow even looks like? How would the client experience of someone who is a high-end company differ from someone that's just getting started? Or how would the client experience of someone who is super quirky and fun differ from a really sophisticated and mature brand? Like, do those kind of brand values shake out in the client experience?
hmm I mean, I would hope that there are some things that stay constant no matter where you kind of fall on that spectrum. I think that the client experience should always be, I think like communication should always be focused on clarity,
Mhm.
um, no matter what, right? So whether you have a client experience that is really luxurious, and maybe includes actual like physical products that people get sent in the mail and just feels extra special, or whether you're still very new and maybe you don't have a budget for something like that. Hopefully still the focus is on communication and clarity, and you're still giving the people the information that they need, and that's always still the foundation, right?
Yes.
But then as long as you have that foundation of communicating the most important pieces of information that have to be communicated, then on top of that foundation, right, then maybe you have the real experiential kinds of things. But I think even for like kind of a quirky maybe like shoestring budget, I think that there are still fun things that a brand like that can do to set themselves apart that don't necessarily have to cost a lot of money. But I think that's maybe where a designer can come in and help a business owner come up with creative strategies for things that they can do to set themselves apart that maybe don't necessarily cost a lot of money. Like that's not my skill set, right? Is to come up with those great ideas. Like I'm not super great at that, but I think a designer is.
But that is a great point is it is up to you to kind of map out what that workflow looks like and to say, here are these points along the workflow where a designer can come in. Like, here's the first welcome email that goes out. Okay, designer, what can we do?
Yes.
Here's the onboarding email that goes out. What can we do? Something that I was saying the other day, I was doing a Q&A session with one of our clients mastermind group, and something that we were talking about is I was pointing out a lot of these kind of client experience things, and they were saying, well, it's so hard when you're a service-based business and you don't have an actual product. Like, we don't get to send out physical things. And I said, you can absolutely send out physical things. And I also feel like a lot of service providers think that the service itself is a gift, but it's not. There's so many points when you're being provided that service where there are pain points and where people need to experience something better. And I think that's where you come in is like identifying what those things are.
hmm Yeah. Well, and so before I get to that, I just want to say that, I mean, you've always been really good at sending out little things, and I love that you have tape that like you have branded, or at least you did at one point, branded tape. And I got something once, and then the next time I got it, I knew exactly what it was, and so I saw it on my porch, and I was like, "It's something from Nicole!" And so I knew immediately that, like, there was something on my porch and that it was from you, and, like, I got so excited. So, I mean, there is really something to it.
Yes.
100%.
And
Yeah,
let
like,
me tell you, tape is the easiest thing that you could possibly do. It lasts you forever and you get one roll.
I mean, like, I never would have thought of that. It's so clever. Love it. Tape,
Thanks.
great. What question was I supposed to answer?
I don't think it was a question. I think I was just kind of like, I don't want to say I'm,
Oh, identifying points on the workflow?
yes, there were just so many opportunities that we're overlooking, especially for service providers where you are working with someone for a longer period of time and there's a lot of downtime sometimes.
Mhm. Yeah. So, I mean, when I work with a client, there's what we do is I mean, they'll come in and they'll tell me, their whole basically. So if you're coming to me as a client, then you're going to tell me you're just going to brain dump to me. Here's what I do with clients. Here's my offer. And like, here's all my assets. Like, here's my contract and, here's kind of how I do my proposal. I may not even have an official proposal, but like, here's how I tell them what the offer looks like and here's how they pay me.
Yes.
And then like, here's how we communicate throughout the whole process. And here are the emails that we send back and forth. And I mean, I take all of that information, just that huge brain dump of information, and I go through all of it and I say, fantastic. Okay, so here's how we make all of that really clear for the customer. Because what happens, I think, so much, first of all, a client coming in, your process so well, and a client does not. And I might be the type of person that errs on the side of over explaining. I know that I am, but I will always want to, on behalf of a client, err on the side of being so clear with, here is where we are, and here is what is coming next. And here is exactly what I need you to do and when I need you to do it. And so, a client, first of all, you have to like make some, you have to kind of strike a balance between, you don't want to send them like a wall of text because they're going to glaze over. And you also don't want to ping them, multiple times with, I need this, now I need this, because they're going to be like, oh my gosh, stop sending me emails. I thought I gave you what you needed. So you learn from gathering all this information and then putting it together. Okay, so here's how we're going to get what we need when we need it, and also provide the client with the best experience possible by making it easy for them to get us the information we need when we need it, and hopefully make it an experience for them that feels easy and seamless. They can get us the information and then move on with their day, right? Because they don't want to think about it any more than you do. They've hired you to solve the problem for them.
Exactly. Yes. That is what I want to say over and over again is the service is not the gift. You have to keep making the process of working with you easier and easier and easier. And you have to, like you said, ask for what you need. There have been, I mean, we have overhauled my workflows over the past year and are still in the middle of doing it. And there are so many things that maybe a couple of years ago I would have thought, oh, this is totally fine. It's moving along. Our workflow is set, but there's always room for improvement. And there are always ways that as you start working with more clients, you just realize they're hitting certain walls or they're not responding to something the way that you want. And sometimes I think we brush it off as just part of the workflow experience. Like, oh, all of our clients just never really respond to this email or don't quite understand this. But that's not that's not the way it should be. We can make it clearer for them.
Yeah. Well, plus, I mean, you're sort of sometimes the way that you work internally shifts as well, and that's okay, right? I mean, you don't always work the same way over time. And so as your own, process shifts a little bit, then the back end so as the back end shifts, then the front end sometimes shifts as well. And that's how it should be. I think sometimes people think, when the when it okay, we've said it and now that's how it's going to be for the next 20 years. That's never how it is. It's sort of constantly evolving, and that's okay.
Yes, that's a good point. There are things that design changes too that also influence how a workflow needs to be changed. Like we've had to go back because we're in the middle of a minor rebrand, and we've had to go back to every single contract and every single proposal template and every single PDF that gets sent out to a client. And we've had to not just redesign it, but think, is this the best way that they can get this information? We've moved so much content that we used to send back and forth to a single web page that now people can just bookmark that web page instead of having to comb through their inbox to find it. So little things like that, everyone needs to be working together to make the entire experience something that's usable and easy.
Mhm. I love that.
Is there something that you wish more business owners knew about your process or how you interact with other team members and what you need out of them?
Um, I wish that, um, well, I wish that people didn't have a sort of kind of visceral reaction against meetings. And not everybody does, but I think people have like, oh no, whether it's because they've been in an environment where maybe they just had so many meetings that they kind of got their their emotional system flooded or something. um or it's like the meme, it's another meeting that could have been an email or whatever it is. I think there's a lot of hate on meetings, and sometimes it really is just the fastest, easiest way to clarify something that is going on in the background, because so much gets miscommunicated and misunderstood through text. And a meeting doesn't even necessarily have to be this. It doesn't have to be a Zoom call. Zoom calls are great. I love being eye to eye with people when I'm talking to them, but it can even be just a Voxer, just something where you can hear somebody speaking, because inflection is so important.
Okay, I'm so glad you said that because that's something that you've helped me learn too over the past couple of years, especially with the pandemic. Meetings have gotten such a bad rap. That's something I talked about with Amber too, is I think a lot of business owners get stuck in this trap where they're being told constantly to streamline, 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 cut out anything unnecessary. And I got caught in that trap too. And I was like, no meetings. If I have to take a meeting, it's only happening on Tuesdays and nothing else ever after that because I'm busy and they're busy and I'm just going to make it simple for everyone. And so much got lost in the process. There were so many workflows that were delayed because I couldn't get the answers that I needed from people when all they needed was to just hop on a call because they can better express themselves in person, just speaking out loud. And there was a lot of client relationship stuff that was missing too, where I was like, I don't know how you feel about me. I don't know how you don't know how I feel about you. We're not talking about feedback or things that can improve or what our hopes and dreams are. There's so much that gets lost and we've cut it out because of workflow stuff. And something that you helped me realize is not everything needs to be automated. Not everything needs to be cut. There are things that are necessary to add back in.
Yes, and talk about client experience, right? You're not developing a relationship with your clients if everything is automated right? I
Yes.
mean, what is that? That's not a client experience. That's not our values.
You might as well be hiring a robot to do your work for you because that's as much information as you're getting.
I mean, that, yes. So 100%. I could not agree more.
Thank you for that, Kate. Okay, on the flip side, is there anything that you have learned from working with designers or something that you wish that you knew more?
Well, the thing that I've learned from working with designers is that I am not a designer. That is what I learned from working with designers. Is that once upon a time I thought I could be a designer. And then I started working with designers and I was like, oh, I am not a designer.
That doesn't mean you couldn't
I
be.
work with information. I am very good with organizing information. And that is the extent of it.
Honestly, I'll say
I
that that's like
cannot make
half
it
of
look
what
pretty.
design is. So you're already halfway there.
Okay, well that's good. But that is as far as it goes. No, not beyond that. I look at what designers do and I'm just like, this is amazing. And I'm so glad that there are people to do this because I'm not that person. And I am so glad that you exist. That's what
Right
I
back
learned.
to
I
you.
don't remember what the second part of the question was.
I don't either. I think you answered it. Oh, I have another question for you. And I think I know your answer to this already. Have you ever had to rework something that you've done because of design feedback?
Well, so I guess this kind of goes along with what we were just saying. So, um, yeah, because I'm not doing like a front end design like you are, right? I'm doing kind of a back end design where like the I'm designing the workflow, the flow chart. So, you know, here's where the flow starts, here's where the client contacts you, and then here's what decision needs to be made. And then from there, you know, flows down and then it flows into this other, you know, matrix, et cetera, et
Let
cetera.
me tell
So
you, when
that
you do
kind of
that, it's
design.
beautiful.
Oh, that's so
My
sweet. Thank
favorite
you.
part. Okay, sorry for interrupting. I just had to say, I
Is it
love every
really?
time you do it.
Oh, thanks. That means so much to me. Oh, sometimes I'm like, am I just doing this for myself because I just enjoy making them? I don't know. Maybe.
50-50. I
I'm
also
good.
get a
That
lot
makes
of
me feel
enjoyment out
good.
of it. But it also helps our entire team. So
Well, and I just recently started actually supplementing them with tables, where I'm actually pretty excited because so when I'm building in Dubsado, the Dubsado workflows have kind of a bad habit of not being very transparent about what is actually going on in the back end.
mhm.
So it'll tell you, like for instance, like Dubsado will say it's sending a form, but what's actually going on is that it's sending an email and a form is linked in an email. But Dubsado is not really clear about telling you that that's what's going on. And so what I've started doing, like to supplement that flowchart, is building a table. And it says like, it literally is like what Dubsado says it's doing, what's actually going on in the background and what you need to do about it, you know? And it's
Yes.
like boom, boom, boom. And I was really proud with that because I thought like this is so clear that like any business owner can literally hand this off to a team member and be like, this is everything that you need to use, like to go into Dubsado and be like, now you can kind of own Dubsado client support, you know?
Yes. Yes. Life change.
So, like between those two things, I feel like it's, you know, kind of a fulsome, um, you know, procedures document. So I felt
Yes.
pretty good about that. Anyway, it's kind of a tangent. So do you know, I haven't been asked to like rework something necessarily, except so when a client sort of says, "Well, I want to rethink how we're actually working with the client." So, from the sense that like I want to rethink how the process actually works, we redesign from that perspective, but not from a like design perspective. What about you? I'm going to turn it back on you.
Oh, that is an interesting question. There have definitely, have I had to rework something because yes, I think so. I think like I've been asked to make things because something was missing. And this has happened a lot on our team too. Like as you've gone through the process and as you and Aaron, our VA, have tested all of our processes, there have been times where you've said, we're missing something and we need it from you. And this isn't something that we can add, it's something that you have to add. And it's like, does there need to be a web page design that's all FAQ? Does there need to be a welcome packet
Mm,
that describes how your hours are used when you sign up for a retainer package? So things that you could probably put in an email, but that just wouldn't make sense because you visually need to walk through it or you need to access it in a different way. So there have definitely been parts where you're like, you need to put in some work here and really think through how people are interacting with this information. Yeah.
You know, one thing that we haven't touched on that I feel like we need to touch on as part of the intersection specifically of design and client experience is the roadmap of a client process.
Yes.
And I mean, because and I'm meant like I think we mentioned it briefly earlier, but for a client to see a bird's eye view of where they are and just briefly where they're going and when it's happening is so important, just to have a sense of kind of where they are, like the "you are here," right?
Yes.
Is I mean, it's so important. And I know that I've seen these on your like, you've got templates for these, and I just think that they're so useful to have that visual of kind of just what's coming. And it's so easy. It's such an easy thing to add in that makes a huge impact in how your client just interprets how they're being taken care of
Yes.
in your in working with you and you providing a service, that they can see that you really care about how they like how you support them. It's so easy to make them. Like, I mean, when you have a template, when you have a designer making a template for you, where all you have to do is put in the information. It's so easy.
Or get it on Canva. We have templates in the shop for that. I also feel a little bit called out right now because I very specifically remember for our grant program, one of my to-dos this year was make a roadmap for the grant recipient so they know exactly what's going to happen. Because a lot of the confusion is like, there's so many different processes that they're working with: design, client experience, and marketing and copy. Like all these things overlap that they really need to know where they're going. And one of my to-dos this year was make a roadmap for them, telling them everything that's going to happen and when a general launch date is slated for. And this year I was like, I'm so busy, I can't do it. If I had spent 15 minutes making that roadmap, it would have solved so many issues down the line and so many conversations. So put in the work beforehand. Megan.
But I mean, it's a good illustration, right? I mean, like you said, I mean, it could have been 15 minutes and, um, you know, live and learn. It's like a small thing that really makes a big difference.
Yes, yes. That's actually something we've experienced this with our branding process as well. There is a 4 to 6 week part of our process where the client is just waiting for us to finish our work. That's a
Yes.
long ass time for someone to just wait around and not have anything. And they're just like, they're so anxious. They want to see the finished product. There's so many opportunities there where we've had to build in, and we're still working on building in, like, how do we check in with them? What do we do for them? Identify some of those pain points. Yeah.
Such a good point. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what are you doing, excuse me, for the client when you do have a long stretch of time where you're working in the background, but they can't see it?
That's
Yeah.
hard. That's also what I
Mhm.
mean when I'm like, the service is not the gift. They are pulling their hair out on the other end, trying to see what's going on. So, yeah, give them the roadmap, tell them what's happening.
Mhm. Yeah, and maybe build in a little sending them a little gift in the middle of that.
Hint, hint. Kate, you are awesome. Is there
Oh,
anything else you feel like
you're
people should
awesome.
know?
Well, just that you're amazing, and they can get all kinds of templates on your website.
And definitely reach out to Kate if you are like, I have no idea what the heck is going on with my workflow, because she is a genius at it. I just, I don't want to give away like all of our secrets, but I want to post all of your like roadmaps and flowcharts because they're gorgeous and they're so detailed. Like every question you could possibly ask when you're going through that process on the back end is answered for us. So thank you for visually creating something that is helpful.
Thank you so much. It is a joy to work with you every day.
Same, same. Well, thanks, Kate. I'll be talking to you soon.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.